here I am with Lloyd Brunson. And if you don't know Lloyd Brunson's story, you're really going to want to hear this one, because what this event has done that I'm at for this week is brings a lot of people together that have a lot of unique stories. So when people like to say that election integrity is really a conspiracy theory, or they try to disprove it with the narratives that they keep hearing in public, I like to bring on all the little small stories. Some are big, but some are small that you haven't heard of. But when I bring on those small stories, it connects the dots to show that there are reasons to question what's happening in our country, and maybe to wake more people up to get involved, as did Lloyd Brunson.
Great, thank you.
Thank you for being on there. I really appreciate it.
Great to be here. And by the way, this is a big story.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, but there's big stories, there's small stories.
I'm just giving you a hard time.
No.
But it is. It's historical, actually.
Well, not only that, but like I said, it's amazing because the narratives cover up a lot of the big stories. So when I say small story, it's relative, because if the narratives and the mainstream media is covering up a big story and you only hear a little bitty piece of it,
right,
most of America goes, oh, that's a little small story. They don't hear it. But then when they hear this on my interviews, and that's why I bring you on.
Yeah, sorry I said anything.
Oh, no, it's good. No, you're good.
No, I
you're
got
good.
it.
No,
I
you're
got
good.
it.
But you get what I'm saying. And I'm
absolutely.
using that opportunity, and thank you, to be able to resonate with the audience.
Right.
So they really want to hear this. So let's talk about this.
Yeah, okay.
What happened?
Well, some people know about it. My brothers and I launched a couple of federal lawsuits against Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and 386 others for violating the oath of office. When the 2020 election was certified, when the electoral votes were certified, they had an opportunity to pause for a little 10 days to investigate an attack on this country, attack on our Constitution through our election system. Ted Cruz, Josh Hawley, and about 140 others produced a mountain of evidence and saying we need to pause before we certify this. It wouldn't really be certifiable until they investigated. And 388 people are being sued in federal court for violating the oath of office, for breaching our security by not taking a 10-day pause to investigate this attack on our election system.
So I'm going to pause you for 1 second, because a question comes to my mind. Mm-hmm. You're suing Kamala Harris, President Biden, for not pausing.
Well, we're suing mostly the 385 members of Congress at the time for certifying the vote without taking a 10-day pause.
Because
so the 145.
Because Biden and Harris weren't officially in office.
Right, but they participated by accepting their offices too. So they're participants.
Okay, I see. So by accepting their offices, they get included in that.
Right. They should have said, no, we're not going to accept this until there's an investigation. We want to make sure that this is a fair election, that we're in here, with fairness.
But of course, since it's all part of their plan to be in office, I'm sure that's why they didn't turn it down.
Well, and the lawsuit is not about the outcome. It's simply about they didn't investigate when they should have. So they violated their oath of office to defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And so the uniqueness of this case is that it has made it to the Supreme Court. Both cases have. The first one was denied a hearing twice. The current one has been denied a hearing once, and we get another hearing.
When's the next hearing?
They haven't set a date yet, but if you go to supremecourt.gov, you will see that it has been distributed to the justices, the petition for a hearing. So they have a copy of this. I have one. This is what it is right here.
All right.
Now, this says Rule 11,
so if they
petition for writ of certiorari. If somebody
wants to look it up, it's case number 22-1028.
Right. But if you go to LloydBrunson.com, LoyBrunson.com, you'll see all about it, the history of it. So this is historic because it's a Rule 11 petition. The last time a Rule 11 petition was allowed to be filed in the Supreme Court of the United States was in the 70s by the U.S. government. So this is the first Rule 11 petition for writ of certiorari that the justices have ever seen. The current justices. The last time someone representing themselves had a Rule 11 petition for writ of certiorari filed was never. I'm the first person in history representing themselves that's ever had a Rule 11 allowed to be filed at the Supreme Court.
So what exactly, again, is a Rule 11?
A Rule 11 means you can bypass the normally required lower court decision, which in my case was the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals in Colorado. And so we sent this to them saying, hey, we feel a national emergency. And the Rule 11 basically says that they can accept it and allow you to bypass that final court's decision if they decide, with the words, right in Rule 11, it says, if they decide it is of imperative public importance.
So
they had to decide.
What makes it a Rule 11.
Right, so they decided that it was imperative public importance, and they allowed it to be filed, and this is the first one in history that someone representing themselves has ever had one filed.
This is pretty amazing.
Yes,
Well,
and this is the first
pretty
time,
awesome. I love this.
since the 70s. So this is the first time the justices have ever experienced a rule have been filed during their tenure.
Okay. So what made you want to do this?
Well, when we saw Mike Pence and many other members of Congress refuse a simple 10-day pause for an investigation, and especially when people like conservative senators, we consider constitutional senators and members of the House,
Right.
we're saying, I have a constitutional duty to certify this. It's like, that wasn't the question. It wasn't about the constitutional duty being violated. It was about you have an obligation to make sure it's certifiable, that you're not certifying something fraudulent. So when you have a mountain of evidence, you better darn well investigate to do your job. And what they were saying is, oh, we've got to ram it through no matter what. And it's like, no,
Right.
That's misrepresentation. You do not have a constitutional obligation to ram something through when it may not be certifiable.
So let me just play devil's advocate here
Sure.
for a minute. With as many Republicans as there are or were at the time in the House, I know we didn't have a majority, and as many as there were in the Senate, I know we didn't have a majority. Wouldn't there be enough of a I don't want to say uprising? Wouldn't there be enough of a groundswell from those people, from those guys that say no, we need to pause?
145 members of Congress, the House and the Senate, did not vote to certify. Okay, because they knew that there needed to be a 10-day pause.
Right.
Okay, so you have people like Ted Cruz and Josh Hawley saying we have a constitutional duty to investigate, and then you have people like Mike Lee saying, oh, I have a constitutional duty to ram it through without an investigation.
So Mike Lee ran it through?
He's one of the defendants.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is interesting. There's a lot of respect for Mike Lee.
There is, but he blew it on that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, well, that's our problem.
We're not biased. We're suing Republicans and Democrats.
This is another good thing I want to bring up to people. Is everybody likes to say that the election integrity issue is a partisan issue, or just because people want to get Trump back in office. But when I talk to people like that, you remind me that, hey, look, you're suing both sides.
Well, on the House floor, both sides were accusing each other of treason relating to the election. It's like, well, that's more reason to investigate.
Exactly.
So we're not saying change the outcome. We're saying investigate. When you have a crime committed, or you think there's been a crime committed, police force, which in this case would be our Congress, have an obligation to investigate to make sure that we're safe, that we're
this
protected.
is out of passion from your heart.
Yes.
That's how much you love America?
Right.
Or is it...
And the Constitution.
Is there any other reason why?
Well, we really got, most of America were very shocked and upset. Look at what's happened since that time. Right, and so I have a constitutional background. I published some books about the Constitution right here.
I love this.
And so my contribution to this was the constitutional aspect of it. And it's really simple. If people go to LloydBrunson.com, they can send a letter to the Supreme Court with their words and their signature. It turns into a printed letter, individually mailed to the Supreme Court. And so it's about the oath of office. Article 6 of the Constitution is very clear with the words, they shall be bound by oath to this Constitution. The U.S. attorneys have been presenting in their briefs that they have absolute immunity. Well, you can't have immunity and have a binding oath, right?
Exactly.
How does that work?
Exactly.
Right? So this is like this is really an expose on the Constitution, and it's an opportunity for people to get involved, supporting the Constitution and a binding oath. So it's just extremely rewarding to see people get involved.
If your lawsuit gets actually heard. So right now, it's you're saying it's on the docket, sort of.
It's on the docket,
okay.
yes. It's been denied a hearing one time, but we get another conference. So it's on the docket. Our petition for rehearing, which means another conference, is on the docket.
Okay.
But a date hasn't been set yet. The justices have taken a break for the summer. They'll be back in October. So I suspect we'll get a date either in October or before that for a conference. But meanwhile, letters to the Supreme Court, about 80,000 people have sent letters so far. And every single letter is a support for the justices to do the right thing.
Okay, so I saw this interview with you with Raj Dorsani,
Okay.
and let's talk about that. Mm-hmm. How does people, if they want to support this legislation, or I'm not this legislation, they want to support this lawsuit, where do they go to sign that letter of support?
Right. Well, they go to LloydBrunson.com.
Okay.
Watch the 5-minute video put together by a volunteer. He produces videos for Mike Huckabee. It's a great video. It has Jimmy Stewart in it. Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. Watch that, and in 2 minutes you can actually do a letter. You can put your own words with a letter that's already been prepared, and you can actually take your finger on your phone or a mouse and write your own signature there. It goes to a fulfillment company where they print it, they fold it, they put it in an envelope, they put postage on it, and it's individually mailed to the Supreme Court.
Does it cost anything?
We're asking for a $2 gift. to help
Okay.
cover the postage and the fulfillment.
Okay.
So
That's not a lot to ask to support
No.
your country.
no.
So
I think so.
And once again, Lloyd, because I'm going to have you on a longer interview later, especially when we want to hear about the update for what's going on.
Great.
But once again, how do people get involved to support you, help you guys out, or go find more out about this?
LloydBrunson.com. You can also go to 7discoveries.com if you want to get an actual copy of what the justices are reviewing. This is historic. It's like I explained, it's never happened by someone representing themselves, and you can actually get, this is exactly how they ask for it to be. Perfect bound, certified word count. This is the exact copy of what the justices are reviewing, and I have copies available for those that want to get a physical copy of this at 7discoveries.com. That's the number 7discoveries.com.
Awesome. Lloyd, thank you so much once again. Sorry to make you change hands, but I want to shake your hand.
Thank you.
And everybody else, please share this interview if you think somebody would be interested in not only the information, but how to support Lloyd Brunson and the effort to be able to sue this administration in a way to help restore our Constitution back to its original strength.
Great.
Right?
Thank you.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you.